The question isn't whether or not it's hard. The question is whether or not God has called us. And when God has called us from somewhere to somewhere, we no longer belong where we were. We only belong where His presence is, right here, right now. That's this idea of legendary faith. Now, with that, then I want us to look back at the latter half of verse 16, something that we just touched on 5 weeks ago when it says this. Legendary faith is approved by God. If I've observed anything in the opportunity that God has given me to be a part of a church staff, to be a lead pastor, over the many years that I've had the chance to do that, is that there's a massive temptation in our life to gather together with other like-minded believers, online or in person, and pretend. Pretend we've got it all together when we know we don't. Pretend that everything is going well because we think there's this illusion that what God approves of is perfection in our life before faithfulness in our life. And what that turns into is people who walk in and never really understand the power of God in their life through the Spirit who wants to change us, as well as never really understand what it looks like to walk in community, because we can never get down to the reality of who we are, because we believe somewhere up here that God will judge us if we act differently, like He doesn't already know, and that people around us, everyone else has it together, we're the only ones that don't. So let me just tell you this. My name is Brian, and I don't have my life together. And I know a lot of you. Graciously, might I say, you can also go on an improvement plan with me. But that's not what God is about in this moment. I want you to look at this, verse 16. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared for them a city. Who is He not ashamed? Specifically, let's talk Abraham for a moment. You know, in this verse, they don't bring up the fact that not once, but twice, he told others that his wife was a sister because he was afraid. Now, they don't bring up here Noah that after the flood, Noah had a horrible situation with his family where he messed it up. Now, am I saying just go out and do what you want to do? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am trying to help us understand and want us to grasp is that too many of us allow ourselves to be defined by our failures, but what God approves of is our faith. Abraham failed many times. Sarah laughed at God. Noah did. Yet he was still not ashamed to be called their God. They are people who are listed in Hebrews chapter 11 as legends of the faith. It means that their story is like all of our stories, complicated. But too often in our life, we're missing things, opportunities, because we're defining our future opportunities to step in faith and not looking at our future opportunities to step in faith and to walk in faith by our past failures and our past misses. Are you? If you've ever said, God can't use me because blank, I encourage you to do the backstory in these people in Hebrews chapter 11. There's a whole lot of ugly. Yet God still did. When we look at this section of Scripture this morning, and just pause and stop. Here's what I don't want you to miss. Where we put our focus on matters. And for some of us this morning, we've been putting our focus and thinking about that God doesn't come through and he's lying. And so our faith is not growing. We have been people, in purpose or not purpose, have got so stuck in right here that we're not able to look up here, and we've been more present-based than presence-based. Maybe in your life, you have been fantasizing about the past. Man, I remember those days. And you're missing what God has in your presence, or maybe, just maybe, in your life, you and your own voice, the enemy and his voice in your life saying, yeah, but you've messed it up, screwed it up, and blown it up, and you can't ever walk in the faith that Hebrews chapter 11 talks about. Yes, you can. There's still an opportunity to allow God's Spirit in us to change how we live. Allow Him to change our focus towards the truth about Him, because no matter how large that thing is that you are struggling with today, He's bigger. He's bigger than that. He can help you and He can help me grow in our faith His sending the Son of Jesus proves it.